often correcting them. I am not a victim of what happened to me. I'm definitely a survivor of it. My burn survivor story started 30 years ago. February 4th, 1983, I woke up at about 7:20 in the morning to find my living room fully engulfed in flames and my 5-year-old son sitting in the middle of it. I called him and he didn't respond. So instead of waiting for the firemen to get there, I did what probably any parent in this room would do. I walked through those flames and I picked him up. And I tucked Adam under my arm and I took him to my room, which was the furthest room from the fire. And I opened the window and I yelled out at the neighbors below, "Help, I need help, I need to get out of here." I asked the firefighters how long did they think I was actually in the flames. They said about 30 seconds at the most. So my life changed that morning in the space of 30 seconds. My life didn't need to necessarily change had my fire alarm gone off, but like a lot of people, there was no battery in it, so I wasn't woken up in time. The fire started because Adam, being your typical 5-year-old, woke up and found some matches in the living room that somebody had left behind. And he did what any 5-year-old would do. He played with them. And the fire started kind of near the living room area on some papers and quickly spread all over with anything that could burn. And again, I asked the firemen how long that would take, and they said, probably by the time I reached there, it had maybe been 5 minutes from when Adam dropped the first match. It's not long to change a life. The hardest part of that morning wasn't actually walking through the flames, though. The hardest part of that morning was dropping Adam down 3 stories to my neighbor. I knew I couldn't hang on to him. My hands were so badly burned and they were hurting so bad I couldn't hang on to him. So I looked down and I saw one of the big biker guys that lived next door, and I said, "I can feel him slipping, you need to catch him." And he said, "Okay, I'll try." And I closed my eyes and I let go, and I opened them and he had him by his feet. And then he quickly thought, and he took Adam into another apartment and he put him in a bathtub full of cool water. The result of that is Adam's burns only went about 40% of his body, and none of them went full thickness, or what some people would refer to as 3rd-degree burns. As a result, he spent 2 months in hospital and totally has had 2 surgeries on his hands and arms, and that's it. He's now 35 and stands about 6'2". If you met him, you might notice the scars on his hands, or if he had shorts on, you might notice a few scars on his legs. If he didn't have a shirt on, you probably wouldn't notice the scar on his back because you'd be too busy looking at the tattoo he put over it. I'm really proud of him. He's growing into be an incredible young man, and I'm really glad I went into that fire that morning to get him. I, on the other hand, got burnt to 80% of my body. 50% of that was full thickness or 3rd-degree burns. I was given a 17% chance of survival. Of course, they never told me that till about 10 years later. So because I didn't know I had a chance to die, I just assumed I had to live, and I did. I spent 8 months in the hospital. I spent 8 months in the hospital. I probably had about 35 surgeries over a period of 13 years. I spent 2 years doing extensive physiotherapy in hopes of getting everything back. I don't have movement in my ankles real well. I cannot make a fist with either hand. This one's the better one. Made me not much of a threat whenever I was mad at Adam when he was young. And people said to me lots of times, "What about my face?" And I know that they do things now like facial transplants. I even know a couple of women who've had them. I like what my doctors did. I think it turned out really, really well, and I don't think I could manage to do this all over again and look for another face in the mirror, because I think the one that looks in the mirror is pretty good. But when I first looked at my face, I certainly was not so sure. I was very numbed by it, and I said to my doctor, well, you can make me look like I used to look, and I had given him pictures of what that was, and he looked at me and went, "No, can't be done. We can do the best job we can, but you'll never look the same." And I took about 2 days to mull that over and think about it, and then I went, okay, well, can't go backwards, how are we going to go forwards? And I did. And I was burnt 4th of February, and on the 16th of May, I went to a sold-out concert at the Jubilee Auditorium in Edmonton. And that was my first outing of the hospital, and it was definitely not the last. They couldn't keep me in the hospital after that. I personally believe that every story that seems to be tragic and traumatic, if you listen to people tell their stories, there's a lot of joy in most of them. There's way more joy than trauma, way more joy than sorrow in everybody's life. And I think that's what we need to focus on as people. We need to find that joy. We need to find that enjoyment of living and being out there and having fun. I like how I look, and I think because I like how I look, it makes other people comfortable with it. And as a result, I just go out and do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it. I work in the public. I work at Starbucks in Penticton. I've never had any adverse reactions from anybody walking in the door. In fact, most people, after about 5 minutes of meeting me, don't even see the scars anymore. I think that life is here to live, and whatever it's throwing at us, we can get through it and we can enjoy it. And I think that if we all treat each other the way we should, we're all going to have a great life. And I personally don't see the need to look like everybody else just to fit in. I think I look fantastic the way I do. On a personal level, I want to thank the firemen for everything they do. Certainly I've met a lot of firemen over the years. I go to burn conferences, they're always there. I've done a lot of fundraising in Edmonton before I moved to the Okanagan, and I have a lot of firemen's friends. I even have some that have retired to here. I thank you very much for what you do, and I know those guys out there are really nervous. They always are. They always seem to want to get firemen to do this kind of stuff, and it always makes them nervous, because that's not what they do. They run into buildings and save people. They don't strut their stuff. But we're really thankful that you're there. We really are. I'm thankful every day that you risk your life for ours. So thank you for being here. And I think I need to turn it back to Jen. See what she's got up her sleeve next.